Hello, everybody. Formal casting here, and as of point of recording, we are now 2 days away from my absolute favorite day of the RLCS season, and that, of course, is Oceanic Swiss. It's my favorite day because, for me, it's the day with the most intrigue, the most what-ifs, the most chaos, as there are so many games being played. All the bubble-seeded teams are going up against each other, and often in a region when we're so dominated by the top two or top three teams, it's amongst this chaos, realistically, that we get a good idea of what the entire layout of the region properly looks like. Again, I'm a big fan of Swiss. I'm a big fan of the Swiss into top 8 format. I would like if the top 8 was double elimination. That's neither here nor there. But what I do want to actually talk about today, though, is the fact that with the start of a new season, with 16 new teams doing battle in this Swiss format, I'm going to go through every single one of these 16 teams as if you didn't really know who they are and explain why you should be a fan of them and why you should care about some of those lower seeded teams here in this Swiss bracket, and not necessarily just the big three. I'm going to include the big three as well, but we're going to go through everybody and just why you should root for each one of these teams. So first up, the teams and why you should root for them. We have the Pioneers, of course, starting with the favorite after I said you should be paying attention to the bubble scene. That's neither here nor there. The big thing about the Pioneers is this team is going to be fun to watch. Scrub, Amphis, and Fiber. Three of the flashier players I feel like we have seen throughout the past couple seasons all together on one team. I'm expecting a lot of highlights from these guys, and if you watch the Pioneers during the open qualifiers, I mean, we saw what Fiber can do quite frequently. Amphis can also be one of those flashy players, and Scrub has been there as well. And another interesting thing about this team, if you like rooting for players who need their moment in the spotlight, this too could be the team for you. Scrub, you could argue, was always kind of, third fiddle on that old Pioneers roster, unjustly so, but Banana Head and Super Lucky did seem to get a lot of the attention. Fiber as well last season was kind of also sitting behind Super Lucky when we saw that Ground Zero lineup and the pop-offs that they had. It kind of was Super Lucky's team. And even Amphis, you could argue, was sometimes the least talked about member on that power squad just because of how consistent Fever was and Torsos being the big name in the community that he is. So these are three players that have always kind of been kind of that number 2 or number 3 player on their teams as of late. But they're all still winners. Like, they're all still constantly expected to get top results. They are going to get top results. If you want to root for winners as well, Pioneers are going to be a good team to root for. So there's a lot of hype behind this team. They are one of the big three. So that's why you should be rooting for the Pioneers. Next up, we have the Chiefs, arguably another one of the big three teams. And what's exciting about them is, well, they've brought a new member into that elusive club of 9. Gus now is going to be on one of the favorites. And I think with that comes a lot of hype. Gus was arguably the breakout player on Merge before. And if you've been rooting for Gus and you've been liking seeing his progression, well, now Gus is on a team to sort of improve and prove himself, I would say, on this iconic OCE franchise, because yes, the return of the Chiefs, that in itself should also be a reason to root for these guys. I mean, the Chiefs are back, and they have that history of international and national success. I mean, they even brought CJ back for the team stream as well. It was very much a Chiefs reunion, so there's a lot of old Chiefs diehards out there. They'd be more than welcoming to new fans to the org. And who better to be that centerpiece on the org as well than, the reigning MVP, Super Lucky. So if you want to root for the defending MVP who missed out on Worlds despite playing in every regional final and every single major but didn't play in Worlds, Chiefs are the team you should be rooting for. Chiefs are the teams you should be watching out for. This is going to be an exciting squad to watch, and that's why you should root for the Chiefs. My number 3 team you should be rooting for. And why? Well, Scrims World. Look, Scrims World is cool. They are a grassroots org, and I use grassroots very deliberately because a lot of times people conflate grassroots with bedroom orgs, but that is not the case with these guys. They have been hosting and running their own tournaments. They're paying their players an actual salary. Yes, I am a little bit aware of kind of what they've been getting, and I think, that is stuff that we need to be encouraging, and they have a fan base already. I mean, they've been hosting fun events. They're, from what I understand, really cool, really nice people to work with, so check them out. Furthermore, they're bringing Lunar back into the scene. We all thought Lunar was retiring. Well, Lunar's back, and on a team that's going to be fighting for top eights alongside Zen, who is kind of a top 8 master, always around. I mean, Zen, it is impossible to get rid of him from these sort of top 8 and sort of these premier matches. Super fun playstyle, super great to watch. How these two will get along, we will see. But the third thing that makes this team exciting as well, of course, is the development of young Matthew, one of the nominees for RLO's Rising Star last year. Matthew really has been breaking out on the scene more and more over the past couple months. Now is on a top 8 team. Now is a chance to prove itself. So if this sounds like kind of narratives that are interesting to you, the return of a couple older vets, hot young rookie, grassroots org, this is a team you should be rooting for. Speaking of sort of grassroots orgs with a larger-than-life presence, let's talk Ground Zero. They have been in Rocket League, and I think out of all the orgs that we have seen come through, arguably one of the most, if not the most supportive to the scene. They pick up top rosters. They take up bubble scene rosters and elevate them more often than not. Ground Zero as an org has only done wonderful things for this region, for our Rocket League community, and as a result, they actually have a bit of an international following as well, which is really, really cool. So if you want to jump in sort of to that kind of fan base, well, Ground Zero could be an org for you. And that's not even getting into the players, which are going to be exciting in their own right as well. Laxin is a human highlight reel. And I know there's been, discussion on Laxin maybe not reaching their potential back on the 95X days. However, if the open qualifier highlights were anything to go by, Laxin mechanically is still absolutely there, can pop off an exciting play at any given moment. That in itself could be a reason to root for this team. And they have arguably the hottest rookie coming into the season, or at least the one with the most hype in Prompt. Prompt is a player with a lot of expectations, a very high skill ceiling, and this could be a team where they put it all together. So you've got, a player starting to rise up to their potential mechanically. You have a hot young gun, and you have an org that just is so ingrained into the Rocket League community here in OCE. So check them out if you haven't, and root for this team. The more fans Ground Zero has, the better. So definitely a fun team to root for. Next up is a team with some familiar names, but maybe not a familiar name as a whole. I'm talking the Bus. This is the first one of those teams where people are now going to be like, okay, wait, who are these guys? Well, they're a pretty studded lineup. First of all, you've got the Pag Goat, Pagsy. Of course, I still think one of the most clutch players in the region, was helping his teams get top 4s in the past with, crazy Game 7 and overtime goals. Pagsy has been that clutch factor, so expect them to be in it to win it if it gets to the end. Negative is a player who I think last year had one of his best seasons he has had. Despite being in the scene for a long time, he was finally getting those consistent top 8s, which was absolutely exciting to see, and I think great for Negative's motivation and to keep them in the game, keep them running, and why they're back with this squad. Fades as well is a player that has had hype. Maybe it kind of diminished a little bit towards the end of last season, but there's no reason why it can't come back. This is a team full of players that are used to, being in the top 8. And that is going to be their goal. So they are going to be one of those bubble teams, yes, but they are a bubble team that could pop off, could get a deep run. And every time they're on Champs Field, I'm going to be picking these guys to pull it off. So you really got to beat them early. That's why you should be rooting for the Bus, though. I expect a lot of excitement from these three. Up next, NTV. I mean, this is an interesting one. This is the underdog story team. And I know, there's a couple other teams maybe that also you could put the underdog story kind of next to their name. But the reason why I'm giving them the underdog team is because I think they have the potential to pull it off. Now, Tatagane was part of Tata's Minions, and they did get a deep run during the Spring Open. But Tatagane wasn't playing. He was subbed out that game, and that kind of could be seen as a missed opportunity for Tatagane. They'll be looking to bring that back. And also Net on the squad. Their first ever top 16 in RLCS, so kind of like another fresh young rookie, first time in that top 16, which is going to make things maybe a little bit more difficult to them. But if you kind of want that redemption for Tatagane, now being in the lineup to try and fight to get that deep run, if you're rooting for Net to be that player to kind of step up and, show off in their first ever, top 16 finish, this could be the team to root for. And, of course, Viz is there as well. Root for Viz. Viz also could be pretty good. So, yeah, this is going to be a good team. They might pull off an upset or two. More the reason to root for them. Going back, though, to the last of the big three, let's talk power. Some people like to root for favorites. Maybe that's you. maybe you want to root to the team that is the favorites at the start of the season, the team that won the gauntlet, which was the biggest off-season event, the team that is made up of 3 players who have either won an RLO Player of the Year or an RLCS MVP in the past, Torsos, Fever, Banana Head. This squad is stacked, but with that also comes the large expectations. I mean, look, they are probably the most known team going into this season. As a result, they have those large expectations, and some people want to root for that. Some people want to see them reach that. I know as a region as a whole, our expectations for these guys should be international success, and that is why you should be rooting for them, because in a lot of ways, you are rooting for OCE as a whole. I mean, it's an OCE org. It's 3 iconic OCE players. They're the favorites coming into the season. Maybe they will pull it off. Either way, you should root for them to have that go and, maybe get into that top 8 internationally as well. Next up, why you should root for the Gremlins. All right. These guys, I kind of dubbed, they're the king of the bubble seeded team. If you want that team that is always there in the mix, and this could be their moment, this could be that time where they get that top 4, get that top 3, get that top 2, Gremlins could be the team you're rooting for. They are the undisputed king of the bubble, in my opinion. And a big part of that has been Cabo's consistent growth. I mean, Cabo's been a player who has been in RLCS and competing for a very long time, always in that top 8. You can kind of put Caleb now right next to them as well, just because they've been playing together for so long. These 2 guys have been on that grind. They've been putting in the results, and they have been looking very, very good while doing it. And if you think, hey, you want to root for a team that it's their time to break through, this could be that squad. Not to mention, Vortex on the team as well. Shout out to Vortex. He's also kind of bounced around consistently in that top 8. They're all there. They also have the best team stream. No bias whatsoever, but, yeah, check it out. Been covering these guys. Covered them during the open qual. It's going to be covering them again during the Swiss stage. You want to watch the Gremlins? You want to root for the Gremlins? You want to be a big fan just like me? Root for the Gremlins. Next up, Long Red Cordial. I mean, you have the return of the iconic name, the return of Hawk. We were talking about the Chiefs' international success before. That's kind of where Hawk broke out and almost became a what if to a lot of people internationally, because kind of took a couple years off, but Hawk is back. At first, I wasn't sure what kind of form they were going to be in. They're in it to win it. They are very much in it to win it. Very dominant performance throughout those open qualifiers. Spidoge back as well on a team that should be in the top 8. Which is going to be exciting. Spidoge, of course, is that player who's always been grinding, always been wanting to get back to that top. And let's not forget Creed. All right, let's not forget about, that 3rd member on Tata's Minions. Creed is a top 6 RLCS OCE finisher. Don't let that sail over your head right now. But you have 2 long-standing returning vets who at, points in time have been seen as kind of a best of the rest player, a player that has been carrying their team further than maybe they should have gone. You have Creed, who has gotten a top 6 result in the past. This team could be that sort of surprise breakout team that could turn this region into a big 4 even. I would not be too shocked if they do. So you want to root for returning legends on a returning legend banner. Long Red Cordial is the team for you. What is there to say about Tiki Taka? Now, I kind of gave them the redemption arc tag initially. I'm not sure that's apt. This team is very, very strange. I think, it's another one of those I want to root for a bubble team that I trust can pull off an upset or I trust can find some success. And Sour is that player. Sour has been the guy who has taken over games before. Sour has, all of a sudden just completely dominated a series. And kind of one of those silent vets who has been around for a very long time and been consistently in this area in the scene, always fighting for those top 8. So you're going to be rooting for a squad that's going to be competitive and is going to make, this Friday Swiss stage very, very interesting. Case in point, this team took a game off ground 0. Now, when I also came up with Redemption Arc, my big thinking was Tonio as well, kind of like a lover scorned, used to be CJ's favorite player. Don't know what happened there. Back on this team, CX9 with them as well, Tiki Taka. They can pull off an upset or 2. Don't overlook this team. And if you want to root for that upset, you could find yourself rooting for the squad. That's crazy. Why you should root for That's Crazy? Well, for starters, Crazy, I think, has been one of the most underrated players in RLCS OCE for a very, very, very long time. Now, why are they underrated? No top eights. Crazy, like, for those who are in the know, the fact that Crazy has been playing, I think, since like 2019, maybe even 2018, and has been consistently in top 16, but has never made that top 8, that's a reason to root for this team right there. Finally get over that hump. Finally get into it. And you know who's going to help carry him there? I like Akame. I think Akame has been playing amazing as of late. I mean, it has been very, very good to watch. Not just that as well, but Keta, no slouch of a player either. I think this duo can be very, very scary to watch. And they have one of the best coaches in the region. Maybe not necessarily for coaching skills, but if you ever want to check out a funny Twitter, Coach Fruity's Twitter, fun to watch that. So, but that's important when rooting for a team, right? Like, I think they're going to be a team that has some great sort of fan interactions. I think they're going to have fun socials, and I think they're going to be a fun team to watch. And it's time to get crazy. That top 8, go out there, root for them to do it. Root for that's crazy. Nothing better to do. Who is this team? Like, this is that mystery team, and there's always kind of one. It feels like that comes from out of nowhere. And hey, maybe that's the team you want to root for. You want to root for the unknown. You want to root for the mystery. And you know what? Good on you for doing it. Nate, first ever top 16, despite kind of, playing in various events. So congratulations, Nate. Crade, this is like his first ever tournament. Top 16. Like, they are true unknowns coming into this, and they could pull off something crazy. Now, Physical, they've been around in the scene for a long while. They've gotten results in the past, so it's not complete mystery. But yeah, Nate and Crade, out of nowhere, top 16 finish. And if that sounds like something that interests you, hey, this could be your team. Be that guy who roots for the team that, isn't really well known just yet. Kaka's Minions, the reunion tour team. We're bringing them back. Finn, Kaka, and Shores reuniting to try and get over that hump and win themselves a regional. I mean, back when they were at their prime, back under that Ground Zero banner, this team was always that 4th team. They were always getting those top 4s, never really able. Occasionally they'd get a top 3, but they were never really able to get that big win. It always eluded them. Well, maybe. Just maybe the reunion tour can bring it back. For Kaka, it's a little bit interesting because, as I said, there's always sort of like those big 3 teams. Kaka now out of the big 3 teams. Gus has come in, but maybe this is the 4th team. Maybe we're looking at a big 4. Maybe with Long Red Cordial, who knows? It's a big 5. Either way, if you were a fan of that old Ground Zero lineup, if you were a fan of wanting a team to get their redemption coming back after a long minute, this could be that team for you. And hey, they might do it. I think Finn looked better individually last season than what Finn did at Ground Zero. Now, whether or not that's a positive or a negative coming back together, we will see. However, I think with Finn improving, Kaka motivated, this team is going to be fun. They're going to be scary to watch. And if you like that reunion tour narrative, this is the team for you. Why you should root for Cold. This team, I'm starting to get feelers out there for what people are kind of thinking. Who's going to be good, who's going to be bad. And this team has a lot of people saying, yeah, they're going to get top 8. And I kind of agree with it. I don't know what's going to happen this first regional. I think they have the potential to get there. And there's good reason for it. Remick, out of retirement, again, super fun player to watch. I always feel like Remick's the type of player that kind of even gives the top players in the region a hard time. He always has found ways to show up in important matches. Even if the team doesn't win, Remick will have a strong showing. Stainless, I've kind of dubbed him as a fake rookie because he's been a sub for teams in the past, and he's played one RLCS series, I think, way back when in like 2021 as said sub. But first time a part of the main roster, first time getting through on a team, and has looked so good. So good from what we saw. The Arena X tournament, Stainless was a bit of a standout performance. Ball has always been that player who has been so close to kind of being a breakout bubble team player, but hasn't really had that moment yet. This team, you look at it and it's like, okay, they're starting to peak, and we've seen the potential on a couple of these players for a good, hot, long while. So if you want that team that could be that breakout squad that has a lot to be excited about and has a growing fan base, Cold could be the team for you. They whomst cooketh. We were talking a lot about Tata's Minions. You want to know why they did so well and got that top 6 finish during the Spring Open last year? Super sub Matro. Matro is another one of those players in the OCE scene. I don't know if I want to call him underrated anymore because I think a lot of people see how good Matro is. But this is the exact type of squad where if you were a fan of Matro's performances, well, this is Matro on their own team. Let's see if they can pull it off. Let's see if they can get themselves through. I mean, they had a reverse sweep to qualify to get into the top 16, so already it was a little bit sketchy, but some people like that. Some people get excited by that, and they'll find themselves drawn to and rooting for that. So we'll see if they can come together. It's also Panzer's second ever top 16. Last time they had a top 16, back in 2021, playing with Matro. So there's some familiarity there. People like familiarity. Also, the name is great. They Whom's Cook, great name. A lot of great reasons to root for this team. Give them a cheer. Give them your support. And last, and certainly not least, the Soulja Boys. Yes, I typoed the name on top. Sorry. But it's SOULJA. I know that. Why you should root for them, though? Big Roosters, Big D. And I'm not just saying that for the, memes. Big Rooster, back when we saw, big results coming from them, it came a lot from that defense. Big Rooster's defense was really good, and there's a time when people were looking at Big Rooster as that breakout player because of the Big D. Didn't really pan out towards the latter half of last year. This could be them coming back. And I think this is going to be one of those teams whenever they're on stream, they are going to have that cult fan base. They're going to have people rooting for them. It's going to be surprising how popular these guys are, I think, for a lot of people on the outside looking in. But, sometimes it's fun. I expect this team to have the best copy pasta. I expect this team to have some of, the best chaotic moments as well. And I could be wrong on this, but from what I read, none of these players have ever cracked the top 8 before. And that surprised me. I thought Big Rooster did. So that could be wrong. So that last one has an asterisk on it. I could be incorrect. But I'm pretty sure these guys have never cracked the top 8. They're due for it. Big Rooster is definitely due for it. Let's see if they can piece it together. Let's see if they can get that top 8 finish. And let's see what the Soulja Boys can do. So there you have it. All 16 teams playing on Friday and why you should root for each of them. Look, I don't know who's going to make it through. I think the bubble scene is going to be chaotic. I live for that chaos. Part of me is rooting for every single team. It's really hard for me to pick favorites. I might be biased towards the Gremlins because, again, going to be doing that team stream. Check it out. Either way, I want to know if this video actually had convinced any of you to root for a team or, maybe cared a little bit more for a team that you didn't care about before or, willing to give another team a deeper look. I'm super curious who you are rooting for in the bubble scene as a whole. So please comment, let me know. Furthermore, I also just unleashed sort of like a tier maker thing on my Twitter. Check that out. Rank your teams. I'm going to be talking a bit more about that tomorrow. Trying to do as much RLCS OCE content. Obviously, this YouTube thing, learning every more each time I do it. So if you've been enjoying what you've been seeing, again, please like and subscribe. Comment. Let me know what you think, which teams you like, which teams you think are frauds. Let's go into it. Let's make this a fun season, despite the fact, everything up in the air in terms of broadcast and what we're going to be able and unable to see. Going to be doing my best here. Want to see you guys do your best as well, both on and off the pitch. Thank you for watching.